Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambeau channel. A couple weeks ago, when Judge Torres ruled that XRP itself is not a security, we got a little taste of what's to come. It was exciting, it was fun, and we celebrated the day as we should have and we well deserved. Seeing XRP go from the upper 40-cent region to somewhere at some exchange, I think it went a little higher than this, but on Live Coin Watch, I saw it as high as 90 cents. Fantastic, very fun to see. It happened in a matter of hours, but I'm telling you, I firmly believe that's just a little taste, a little nibble of what's to come, because when it comes to crypto price action, sometimes it feels like nothing could possibly happen. People get down in the dumps and they feel their emotions, they get their feels, and nothing's ever going to happen. We're never going to see a new all-time high until suddenly we do. And then it just happens. It's just like snap of a finger and just rockets. And it's fascinating because you might be wondering, what could trigger something like this? Well, look, we were wondering, and myself included, would it be possible that upon the news of XRP being declared a non-security, which is what happened, would that result in short order in XRP rocketing to a new all-time high? Which is a fair question. It's fair to speculate on that. We now know the answer is no, but we also know that XRP is unshackled. So when the market heats up, XRP is going to run in a face-melting fashion compared to what we saw in 2021 when it during the last stage of euphoria when XRP got up to about $2. Now, so why do I say this, and why is there reason to be an optimist in my humble opinion? Well, we need to talk about the amount of money that's about to flow into the crypto space and how that results in an incredible multiplier effect for the entire crypto space. There's an article from the Daily Hodl I'll pull up towards the later part of the video, and it highlights perspective from Mark Yusko. I'm a fan of him, even though he doesn't really care for XRP, but he's not being a troll about it. I still appreciate his perspective. People don't need to like the same cryptocurrencies as me for me to like and respect them, because I'm not an idiot. So I want to share with you his thoughts on this, but in terms of the amount of money that's going to flow in specifically, once we see approval for a spot Bitcoin ETF, because I'm telling you, that'll really heat up the crypto market, and then money will absolutely flow throughout the entire crypto space. But that's what I believe anyway. But before going further, I do want to be clear, I do not have a financial background of any kind. I am not offering financial advice, and you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto-related topics, but just as a hobby and just for fun. Now, first, I did want to cover just part of this article from Cointelegraph. It's analysis from their chart analyst, Rakesh Upadhyay, and he wrote the following. It's about the S&P 500, but this is important because the crypto asset class, broadly speaking, follows the S&P 500. But it doesn't mean down to the second, the minute, the day, the week, the month, necessarily, so on and so forth. So it looks to me, you'll see as I go through this, the reason I want to highlight this is because it looks to me like Bitcoin has a bit of catching up to do, but if we keep seeing stocks just go straight on up to the upside, not literally straight, there'll be volatility, but if we see that directionally, as we have seen this year, it's just a matter of time until Bitcoin snaps into place like it typically does. And that's why if you zoom out on a chart, you can see tremendous correlation between Bitcoin and equities. Absolutely. Anyway, piece reads as follows. The S&P 500 index continued its march toward its all-time high with a 3% gain in July. Signs of receding inflationary pressures and expectations of an end to the Federal Reserve's tightening cycle are the factors that boosted risk-on sentiment. However, this bullish mood did not benefit Bitcoin, as it largely remained range-bound in July and is on track to end the month with a loss of more than 3%. The biggest question troubling traders is when will Bitcoin's range break and in which direction? And so it's worth noting here, and this is just a concept that any analyst worth their salt will acknowledge here, and I'm not an analyst, I don't want to be, I have no interest in being an analyst, but there is such a thing as consolidation, and the longer something trades sideways, ultimately, when it breaks, it has a greater tendency to break much, much harder. Anyway, piece continues. Typically, the longer the time spent inside the range, the greater the force needed for the breakout. Once the price escapes the range, the next trending move is likely to be strong. The only problem is that it is difficult to predict the direction of the breakout with certainty. Yeah, and fair enough. You can have a breakout to the downside, but look at the environment that we're in. If you look at what equities are doing, and you tell me that we're just going to see for the remainder of the year or maybe the next 12 months, you're going to see equities continue to rip to the upside, and then Bitcoin's just like, I'm not paying attention now. No, we've got 14 years of history showing that's not how Bitcoin behaves. Absolutely not. And now take a look at this from the Crypto Basic. XRP erasing 15 months losses in 24 hours. Vandepop urges periodic XRP buying and holding. Now this is interesting because chart analyst Michael Vandepop does not like XRP. After the SEC sued Ripple, he was one of the people that was saying stuff like, I can't remember all the specifics, but I think he said that XRP was, I can't remember, he might have been one of the ones that said it was never going to break $1 again, or he was predicting that, in the years to come, it was something along these lines anyway. I could be a little bit off, just as a disclaimer, but Bitcoin would be so-and-so price way, way, way higher compared to whatever it was in the beginning of 2020, and then XRP would just, kind of flutter around in no man's land. He might have even said that it wouldn't go above 50 cents. I just have to look on his X account, formerly known as Twitter, to find it, but I actually highlighted what he had shared, so all that said, it's fine. He doesn't have to like XRP, and then he was obviously wrong about all this stuff, and so now he tends to be much more reasonable ever since that was, I think, probably a little bit embarrassing, perhaps, that he was so disastrously wrong about that, but nothing against him personally. But he does think that, hey, could be some good stuff coming for XRP. So, I'm just saying, if it's given that he doesn't like XRP, if he's actually saying positive stuff, I'm going to assume that he probably really means it. Anyway, piece reads as follows. In a recent tweet, a renowned crypto analyst, Michael Vandepop, spotlighted the intriguing tale of XRP's recent meteoric rise, using the event to project something more significant in the offing. Pop noted that XRP orchestrated a breathtaking bull breakout, wiping out the equivalent of 15 months' losses within a mere 24-hour time frame. The crypto analyst used the XRP example to argue the typical pattern cryptocurrencies would take during a full-blown bull rally. In his words, quote, "What XRP did is showing to you what a bull breakout does," end quote. Yes, exactly. And so you just wait until Bitcoin's also running tremendously, because that's the one thing that we haven't had during this. In fact, when XRP started running, that caused Bitcoin to run a little bit that day on July 13th. So it was XRP leading the market, which is interesting, and it doesn't happen that frequently. It has, and I like highlighting it when it does, but it's not a particularly common occurrence. So, and he says 24-hour time frame here wiped out 15 months of losses. True, fair enough, but you can hone that in a little further. It was a matter of several hours or so, because that's when the real price action happened. It didn't, whatever it was, it didn't take like a full 24 hours. I'm just saying, for it to go from 40 something cents all the way up to 90 cents. That's the only point that I'm making here. So price action happens quick in crypto, and I would fully anticipate that we're going to have another experience like that at some unknown point in the future. My bets are placed here. And then there was also this, and I'll be brief with this one. XRP. And Cardano, explosive $1 million inflows amid massive Bitcoin exodus. And so I just wanted to point out, and they're talking about on an institutional level, they have CoinShares has weekly reports on this. Bitcoin actually had major outflows over 19 million, and over the same period, XRP had inflows. So again, money going out of Bitcoin, over $19 million, institutional level. XRP inflows, money going in, $500,000, which I know isn't a crazy number, but recently, and it was the week that we had the ruling in the SEC v. Ripple case, I can't remember the exact number, but it was millions of dollars flowing into XRP, and if memory serves, I could be wrong on this, but I think Bitcoin had outflows for that time period too, whether it was down I want to say $12 or $13 million. It was something massive, and then you see millions flowing into XRP on an institutional level. So there are some people out there that truly have some long-term thinking here. Thank you. And then there's also this from you today. XRP shows unseen price dynamic. What's happening? And I don't want to read the article, but what they're pointing out here is that there's been a substantial decrease in XRP volatility. And then they're questioning, is there something wrong here? Does this mean that things are going to get worse for XRP? But they never point out that Bitcoin's experiencing the same thing. And it looks like XRP is kind of imitating Bitcoin in this sense. Here's a headline from Cointelegraph. Bitcoin volume hits lowest since early 2021 amid fear $25,000 may return. And again, I don't feel like reading this article either. I just want to point out, it's not just XRP. So they write articles saying, hey, look at XRP doing this thing. And then they make it sound a little bit scary, but it's the crypto asset class that is acting this way, led by Bitcoin. Just wanted to point that out. And then there's this, and this is probably honestly the most exciting part of this video, even though I'm not excited about Bitcoin per se. I hold it. I like Bitcoin. I'm going to continue to hold it. I just don't think from a technological perspective it's that interesting anymore. There's so much more opportunity, I personally believe, with XRP. But I think that this is the most exciting part of this video because Bitcoin, whether I like it or not, whether you like it or not, doesn't matter. Bitcoin still leads the market. And when you're talking about a spot Bitcoin ETF getting approved, which I think is an inevitability, and I think it's going to go to BlackRock, which I've been saying for a long, long time. I've been saying that for over a year now. I mean, it's here. Like, well, not literally approved, but we're in the process of it. Like, it's happening right now. BlackRock did file. And the amount of money that will flow in, because you're talking about, because if there's purchasers of this fund, this ETF, it requires BlackRock to actually purchase Bitcoin to back it. It has to actually back it by an equivalent amount. And you're talking about people on whether it's listed on NASDAQ or the New York Stock Exchange, those people, so even if they're not into crypto, they can suddenly easily, using the accounts they already have set up, they can get exposure rather, to the crypto asset class. That's amazing. You know how many people you're going to onboard to crypto as a result? And then BlackRock directly buys Bitcoin. What do you think that's going to do? And then it's going to spur more interest for retail investors specifically who will directly purchase cryptocurrency, including Bitcoin. And then what do you think happens is we hit euphoria and then money cycles through into other large cap coins. It's going to be huge. So here's the headline from the Daily Hodl. $30 trillion wave of capital could send Bitcoin into next bull run, says Mark Yusko. Here's his outlook. Oh, this is awesome stuff too. Check this out. Morgan Creek Capital Management's Mark Yusko is declaring that crypto spring is already underway and that the approval of a Bitcoin exchange-traded fund will be the spark that lights the next bull run. In a new interview with crypto influencer Lark Davis, Yusko says that he believes crypto spring began on June 15th, exactly 1 year after he believes crypto winter ended. With the market looming for bullish catalysts, Yusko says that a Bitcoin ETF will be hugely positive for Bitcoin and the overall crypto space. Yusko points out that BlackRock, the biggest asset manager in the world, has virtually a 100% success rate of getting ETFs approved and will likely continue its streak with its Bitcoin application. And I'm going to share with you a quote now, but I do want to note that he got something wrong. I'm going to read it as he stated it, so it will be incorrect, but I'm going to tell you the incorrect part right now. BlackRock has filed for 576 ETFs in its history, 576. They've been approved for 575. They only lost one. And my understanding is that when they lost, it was on something of a technicality. And that's an incredible track record. So he says 475. It's actually 575. I'm just going to read it as he wrote it because that's what he said and that's what's on the screen. But I wanted to note that. And so anyway, the quote from Mark Yusko is as follows. Of course, it's a good thing because it will be approved. BlackRock is 475 and 1. They've made 476 applications for ETFs. They've had 475 approved. This one's going to get approved. Now, does Bitwise's or Ammon's, do they get theirs first because they were in line first? I'm going to say no, and that sucks. But I'm going to say there'll be some weird reason why BlackRock goes to the head of the line. It's just the way it is. When you have $10 trillion in assets, you get special privileges, end quote. That's true. And so BlackRock, they're the largest asset manager on the entire planet, $10 trillion in assets under management. And I've long been speculating that BlackRock will be the first firm to be approved. Is that fair? Is it right? I don't think so. You know, you can see, I mean, hell, Grayscale's in a lawsuit against the SEC over this because the SEC last summer denied their application for a spot Bitcoin ETF. So Grayscale's going after the SEC here, and all sorts of other firms have done. And so it's just, it looks shady. I don't know how it couldn't be anything other than what it looks like. And just having heard what I've heard through the grapevine, which I've reported on this channel, I'd be shocked if it were anything other than what it actually looks like, which is something corrupt. Whether it's illegal or not, it just looks like favoritism, coming from government agencies. And who knows? Maybe my speculation's wrong, and we won't see BlackRock get the first Bitcoin ETF. But I'd be surprised. I'd be really surprised. I don't think they'd be applying if they didn't get the, kind of the wink, wink, nudge, nudge from the SEC And plus alerting them to what they need to do, because they did take a different approach when filing compared to any previous application, which I've covered on the channel. I don't want to get too far into the weeds, though. Piece continues. The Bitcoin bull says that the BlackRock ETF could unleash a $30 trillion market of institutional investors that would then have access to Bitcoin after previously being hesitant due to regulatory uncertainty. If the ETF is able to get 0.1% of those assets, Yusko says it would certainly move the needle on Bitcoin given its low free float, or Bitcoin that are actually available for trading. Right. So what he's talking about when he's saying free float, you just need to have this concept, in your mind here, that most Bitcoin that exists, even if it's already been mined, it's not available for purchase. It's not on exchanges for purchase, for sale right now. You can't get it because it's not being offered. Whether it's in cold storage or not, you can't have it. So it's actually a small percentage of all Bitcoin that's ever been mined that is for sale right now. Very small percentage. And the other thing that I want to mention, just keep this in mind as I'm reading through this next quote, this money flowing into Bitcoin, again, I just want to say it again because this is what matters to me as an XRP holder, is I understand XRP now it's the only large cap coin that has legal clarity in the United States. It's the only one. And so I think the amount of money that will cycle once money flows out of Bitcoin, when people take profit, once it goes into large caps, I think just a face-melting amount will ultimately flow into XRP. That's my speculation. We'll see what happens. Or I'm wrong and it goes to zero, and that is possible. So it could be a horrible idea. I'll just be real with you. I don't think that's going to happen, but I try to be a realist about this stuff. But anyway, here's the quote from Mark Yusko. $30 trillion. Let's get 0.1%. $30 billion. $30 billion on $600 billion, that's not much, Mark. That won't do anything. But it's not $600 billion. The free float is more like $100 to $150 billion. $30 billion on $150 billion? That will move the needle. And if we get 1% instead of 10 basis points, so 10 basis points would be 0.1%. So he's saying if we get 1% instead of 0.1%, he says that's $300 billion. $300 billion on a $150 billion, that's a big-ass number, end quote. Yes, it's a big-ass number. That is correct. If you're talking about that much money flowing in, what if it is 1%? And you're talking about 150 billion, my God. I mean, I don't have to explain this any further. You guys got the cut of my jib, right? You got the cut of Mark Yusko's jib in terms of what this would mean for the price of Bitcoin, right? And then you can understand further what it would mean for the rest of crypto. And then he says, peace continues rather, when Bitcoin goes back to its all-time high, Yusko says he doubts there will be a long lineup of people waiting to sell. He predicts much less free float and much less sell pressure on Bitcoin once it reaches the $50,000 to $60,000 range. And he said, quote, people get more convinced that they want to hodl forever as the price rises, and they don't panic. So if the price goes back to $50,000 or $60,000, I think there'll be less free float, not more. I don't think there's a lot of people out there that are going to be selling. I think what you see with the daily selling is just the same people buying and selling over and over. The bots, the high-frequency traders, end quote. And that may very well be true. I mean, typically when you enter a new euphoric portion of a market cycle, once you break through to all-time high, more money flows in than out. That we've seen that a bazillion times, right? So wouldn't be surprised. But I'm just excited about what that means. Yeah, fine to a certain degree for my Bitcoin, but more so for my altcoins, because I think that's where the true life-changing wealth is going to come from. We'll see what happens, though. I'm not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo.